Chosen one, maybe you're here or maybe you're not, but either way, this is important, kind of. You clicked this video not because you wanted background noise, but because something inside you twitched, a subtle curiosity that you could not quite name. It was not loud, it was not grand. It was more like a half-forgotten whisper from the edge of your own thoughts, tugging at you, saying, stay here for just a moment longer. Maybe it feels random, but there is a weight sitting in the air that is not random at all. You have been carrying questions in your chest like stones hidden in your pocket. Heavy, always there, rarely noticed by anyone else. Questions about why certain doors keep closing. Questions about why people seem to vanish when you need them most. Questions about whether you have been walking in circles, calling it progress when all you have done is return to the same ache again and again. You have tried to name it, but the words slide away every time you reach for them. This is the unspoken struggle that no one around you seems to see, yet here you are, staring at this screen, knowing that if you were fine, you would not still be searching. There is something about your life right now that feels unsettled, like a storm moving in from the horizon, dark clouds gathering but refusing to break. You sense change, but you do not know where it is leading. You sense pressure, but you do not know why it is pressing down on you so fiercely. You sense that something is aligning, even though it looks more like things are falling apart. It feels like destiny has hidden itself behind the curtain and left you standing alone on the stage, waiting for a cue that never comes. That tension is not meaningless. It is not wasted. It is the soundless drumbeat before something shifts. But here is the truth you must feel in your bones. If you turn away right now, if you click away and sink back into the usual noise of scrolling and distraction, you may miss the very thing that was meant to remind you of who you are. You may lose the thread that was tugging you closer to clarity. You may silence the very confirmation your soul has been thirsting for. That is what is at stake. To watch or to run. To lean in or to drift back to the fog. One choice can open a door, and the other can leave you standing in the same unanswered silence for another season. Pause here. Breathe deeply, not because this is a lecture, but because your spirit is asking for air. If you are still with me now, mark this moment with something sacred. Write it into the comments. Maybe you feel drawn to 111, the number of divine alignment, or maybe 444, the sign that protection is closer than you think, or 777, the seal of completion. Do not dismiss it. Choose one and let it be your marker, a quiet declaration that you are awake in this very moment, that you are not drifting, that you are ready to receive what your soul has been circling toward for years. And before we move further, take this as your invitation. Subscribe now, not because I said so, but because your journey deserves to have reminders placed before you at the right time. This is not about chasing content. It is about never missing the words that your spirit has been waiting for. The guidance, the confirmation, the truth that arrives not when you demand it, but when you need it. Let this be that space for you, a space where you return and find yourself reflected back with clarity and strength. Because what is coming next is not casual. This is not light entertainment. This is a mirror being placed before your soul, and when you see what is revealed, it will make sense of why you have felt the way you have felt. The delays, the silences, the restless longing, it will all begin to fit into a shape you recognize. You were not abandoned, you were not forgotten, you were being positioned, and this moment, this video, this breath, is part of that positioning. So stay. Let yourself be still, even for a few minutes. Hold on through the pull of distraction, because what unfolds from here may sound like it was written for you alone. And if you allow it, it will not only explain what you have carried, but it will give you the key to see why the unexpected is about to break into your life in ways you could never predict. Chosen one, expect the unexpected. The surprise waiting for you is not small, not ordinary, not something you can measure by what has already been. It is loaded with glory, and it is already on its way. Watch until the end, and you will see why this moment found you. You have been feeling things that you could never fully explain. Sensations that rise quietly beneath the surface of your days, like a current moving beneath still water. At times it has felt like restlessness, at other times like exhaustion, and often it comes as a strange heaviness you carry without knowing why. This is the beginning of awakening, though it rarely announces itself with clarity. It slips in quietly, leaving you to wonder if you are simply tired, if you are imagining things, or if life has somehow slipped out of rhythm without warning. What you have been sensing is not madness, and it is not weakness. It is the shift of something deeper moving through your life. The thoughts that keep echoing, the dreams that leave you unsettled, the feeling of being in between worlds. It is not an accident. It is a whisper from the unseen pressing against the edges of your awareness. Chosen one, you feel it because you were meant to feel it. Not everyone around you notices what you notice. Not everyone has ears that catch the frequencies you catch. That is why you often sit in silence, carrying truths inside that you cannot put into words. You may have asked yourself why everything familiar has started to feel unfamiliar. The places you once fit into now feel too small, like a skin you have outgrown. The conversations you once enjoyed now feel empty, as if the words never reached the depths where you live. Even the routines that once gave you comfort have begun to feel hollow. This disconnection is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of transition. You are being drawn out of old containers, but you have not yet stepped into the new form waiting to hold you. That space between is uncomfortable, but it is sacred. Confusion has visited you often, hasn't it? That sudden thought that you should be further ahead by now. That haunting suspicion that maybe you missed something important along the way. That quiet voice that tells you that your life has been circling instead of moving forward. Let me tell you, confusion is not evidence that you are lost. It is evidence that your inner world is shifting faster than your outer world can keep up. You are carrying truths that the rest of your life has not yet grown to reflect. That tension is the weight you feel. It presses against you, not to break you, but to push you into remembering. Think of the earth before the seed breaks through. The soil is heavy, compacted, pressing down, and yet beneath that weight something living is trembling, stretching, preparing to pierce the surface. From above it looks like nothing is happening. From beneath, it is everything. That is what you have been feeling. The pressure is not meant to bury you, it is meant to reveal you. The storm you feel building inside is not punishment, it is preparation. Lightning flashes inside of you not because you are breaking down, but because energy is gathering for a breakthrough. The thunder that shakes you is the announcement that something is moving closer. You may not see it, but you know it. The way your chest tightens when you sense change, the way your thoughts scatter when you sit in silence, the way your heart aches with a longing you cannot explain. These are not flaws, they are signs. Do not despise your discomfort. Discomfort is the doorway to transformation. Just as the night deepens before dawn, just as the waves grow wild before the tide shifts, just as silence thickens before a voice is heard, so too does your struggle reveal that awakening is near. What feels like breaking is actually remaking. What feels like emptiness is actually space being cleared for something new. And though you may be tempted to dismiss what you are feeling, to numb it away, or to convince yourself that you are overthinking, resist that urge. What you are experiencing is the earliest confirmation of your deeper calling. If you ignore it, the whispers will only grow louder until they shake your entire life awake. If you listen, however, you will find that the heaviness is not a burden, but a signal, a reminder that you are chosen to perceive what others cannot. So breathe with it. Instead of running, pause. Place your hand on your chest and feel the weight you carry. Ask yourself, what if this is not weakness? What if this is the first sound of my awakening? What if what I fear is actually the beginning of what I prayed for without knowing it? Let those questions sit within you like seeds waiting for water. Chosen one, you are not imagining this. You are not broken. You are being awakened. And the heaviness you feel is not here to destroy you. It is here to prepare you. This is the hidden weight of awakening, and if you lean into it, you will discover that it is not a curse but a sacred confirmation. You are stepping into a story bigger than yourself, even now, even here. Look back for a moment, not with regret, but with clarity. Your story did not begin here, in the middle of your awakening. It began years ago, when you were still a child and the world seemed too sharp, too loud, too overwhelming. Even then you knew you were different, though you could not explain why. You felt the room before you entered it. You sensed the tension in people's voices before they spoke. You carried the unspoken emotions of those around you like invisible luggage, heavy and unacknowledged. You were not just living your own life. You were absorbing pieces of everyone else's. Perhaps you remember sitting quietly while other children laughed and ran without hesitation. You noticed the way someone's smile hid sadness, the way their eyes flickered with secrets, the way their laughter sometimes covered wounds. You could not turn this off. You were wired differently. You were the lantern in a dark forest, glowing even when no one asked you to. But as bright as you were, the world around you often did not know what to do with your light. Being misunderstood became part of your childhood rhythm. People thought you were shy when really you were watching. They thought you were timid when really you were carrying too much. They thought you were dramatic when really you were sensing what they refused to admit. Again and again, you were misnamed. And when you are misnamed long enough, you start to believe maybe they were right. Maybe you were too much. Maybe you were too strange. Maybe you did not belong. But the truth is that you were born with a different kind of sensitivity, and it was never weakness. It was sight. It was awareness. It was the quiet gift of being able to feel the currents underneath what others ignored. That is why even as a child, you sometimes felt out of place, as if the game everyone else was playing was not meant for you. You were not built for fitting in. You were built for seeing what others missed. Think of a child holding a lantern in a dark forest. The forest represents the noise of the world, the confusion, the distraction, the endless pressure to blend in. But there you are, carrying a light that makes you noticeable, vulnerable, and different. You could not hide the glow, though you may have tried. You may have dimmed yourself to stay safe. You may have silenced your instincts to avoid being called strange. You may have pretended not to notice what you noticed so that you could belong. But even in those moments, the lantern never left your hands. The glow was always there. Do you remember the way you felt when adults told you to stop overthinking or stop being so sensitive? They did not realize that they were asking you to put down the very lantern that made you who you are. And for a while, you may have tried. You may have forced yourself into roles that did not fit, friendships that drained you, patterns that muted your awareness. But suppression never erased your sensitivity. It only made it ache more deeply, waiting for the moment it could emerge again. Chosen one. What you felt as a child was not random. That loneliness of being different, that ache of being misunderstood, that longing for someone to truly see you. It was all part of the shaping. You were not abandoned in that strangeness. You were being marked. Even then, your life was preparing you to walk paths most people could not. The experiences that made you feel misplaced were actually the first signs that you were chosen to see beyond the ordinary. Now ask yourself, how many moments from your childhood still live inside of you? The times when you cried without knowing why. The times you felt invisible even in a crowded room. The times you carried guilt for things that were never your fault. These were not accidents. These were the shadows cast by your own light. A light so strong that even as a child it revealed both the beauty and the pain in the world around you. You survived those years, but more importantly, you carried something through them. You carried the same lantern that still glows in your hands now. It may flicker at times, it may feel heavy, but it has never gone out. And as you look back, you can begin to see that what once made you feel like an outsider is the very reason you will never truly be lost. So breathe deeply. Remember the child you were, the one who felt too much, saw too much, carried too much. That child was not broken. That child was not weak. That child was already chosen, already awakening, already holding the light. And everything you are walking through now is simply the continuation of that story. You are not beginning, you are remembering. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the weight of time presses hardest. You look back and count the years, measuring them against what you thought should have happened by now. The goals you imagined, the clarity you expected, the certainty you longed for. It all seems delayed. And with that delay comes the whisper that maybe you have wasted too much, that maybe your moment has passed, that maybe the best you could have been is already behind you. This whisper has haunted you more than once, hasn't it? But let me tell you something with clarity. Not one moment of your life has been wasted. The time that felt like silence was actually precision. The years that felt like delay were actually alignment. You were not being punished by waiting, you were being positioned by it. What looked like stillness was a recalibration you could not yet see. You see, there is a difference between human time and divine timing. Human time counts the days and declares them lost if they do not meet expectation. Divine timing bends days, stretches seasons, and transforms the slowest moments into preparation. What you call too late is often exactly on time. What you call delay is often the space needed to break what was false and strengthen what is real. Think about the seed beneath the soil. It spends far longer hidden than it does blooming. If you judged its worth by its hiddenness, you would say it failed. But it has not failed at all. It is only gathering strength, letting roots dig deep enough to hold what will rise. That is you. The years that you thought were buried, wasted, meaningless, those were root years. You were being anchored for what is about to grow. The ache you feel about time is real. It hurts to watch others run ahead while you are held back. It stings to feel like you are behind, out of sync, left out of opportunities that slipped through your hands. But pause and look closer. The ones who ran quickly may not have the roots to hold what you will hold. The ones who moved ahead may not be carrying what you were entrusted with. Your pace has always been different because your path has always been different. Carl Jung once wrote that, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." That is the essence of this timing. You were slowed down, not so that you could fail, but so that you would be forced to look inward. You had to be drawn deeper into yourself before you could step forward with clarity. Without that pause, you might have built a life that looked right but felt empty. Without that pause, you might have mistaken movement for meaning. And what of the fear that you are too old, too late, too behind? Let me remind you, destiny is not rushed. It is not bound by age, and it is not diminished by delay. Some of the greatest awakenings in history began in the middle years, when people thought the best had already passed. But what felt like an ending was simply the right beginning. Do not despise your age, your season, your stage. It is not a curse, it is the exact design for what was meant to unfold. Chosen one, the clock has not betrayed you. It has been marking your alignment. Every missed opportunity, every closed door, every detour was not punishment, it was preservation. You were being protected from paths that would have consumed you, from roles that would have drained you, from connections that would have diluted you. That is why some things never worked out, no matter how hard you tried. That is why certain relationships ended, certain jobs collapsed, Certain seasons crumbled. They were never meant to carry the weight of your calling, so breathe out the fear of wasted years. Let it go, because what you are stepping into now is proof that nothing was lost. The longing you feel is proof that time is aligning, not slipping away. The ache you carry is proof that your destiny is still alive. The fact that you are hearing this right now is proof that you are right on schedule. Remember this: when the shift comes, it comes suddenly. Years of silence can break in a single moment. Doors that stayed locked for decades can open in a single season. Alignments that seemed impossible can fall into place overnight. And when it happens, you will understand why it took so long. You will see that none of it was wasted. So do not call yourself late. Do not call yourself behind. Call yourself prepared. Call yourself aligned. Call yourself chosen at the exact moment you were meant to be. This season is not punishment. It is precision. And your timing, though it may feel off, is exactly right. There is a stretch in every chosen one's journey that feels like a pause no one warned you about. Life quiets down, people fall away, opportunities vanish, conversations that once mattered become echoes fading into distance. It is not the kind of silence that soothes. It is the kind that unsettles, the kind that makes you question whether you have been abandoned, forgotten, or left behind. Yet this very silence, though heavy and strange, is the place where the deepest preparation takes root. You may have called it a dead season. You may have felt it like a desert, dry and endless, with no signs of life to keep you hopeful. You may have thought of it as wasted time, a season where nothing grew, nothing shifted, nothing moved. But what looks like nothing is often the most sacred work being done. In the womb, growth happens in hiddenness. In the cocoon, transformation happens in stillness. In the desert, the spirit learns to survive without noise. The pause is not empty. It is loaded with formation. It is here, in this pause, that you were being rewired. The patterns that once defined you were being broken apart, sometimes painfully, sometimes abruptly. Relationships that once carried you suddenly ended, not to harm you but to release you. Plans that once felt stable collapsed beneath your feet, not to punish you, but to shift your foundation. In silence, all the false scaffolding that held you up was being stripped away, leaving you with nothing but yourself, nothing but truth. It was frightening, but it was necessary. Chosen one, if you felt abandoned, you were not. You were being hidden. There is a difference. Abandonment leaves you to decay, but hiding protects you until the time is right. A seed beneath the soil is hidden, but not abandoned. A child in the womb is hidden, but not forsaken. A cocoon on the branch is hidden, but not forgotten. And so were you. The silence was never rejection. It was incubation. In that silence, something else was being healed. The constant pull to prove yourself, to be seen, to earn validation. It was being cut off. You could not depend on the voices around you anymore because they had gone quiet. You could not lean on applause because no one was clapping. You could not measure your worth by movement because there was no movement to measure. You were forced to face yourself, raw and unadorned. That stripping away felt cruel at times, but it was the gift that made you whole. Think of the desert. It is barren, harsh, and endless to the eye. Yet beneath its surface, roots grow deeper in search of hidden water. The desert teaches resilience. It teaches the soul how to drink from wells unseen, how to survive without constant external confirmation. This is what the silence taught you. It showed you that your strength was never meant to be borrowed from others. It showed you that your guidance was never meant to be outsourced. It showed you that everything you needed was already inside of you, waiting to be remembered. Yes, you have been misunderstood. Yes, people have looked at your stillness and assumed it was failure. Yes, some even mocked the pause in your life, pointing at your lack of progress as if it was proof that you had missed your chance. But they did not see what was happening beneath the surface. They did not see the breaking of false roots, the deepening of hidden wells, the quiet remaking of your identity. They did not see that silence was shaping you into someone who could withstand what noise could not. The silence is not permanent. It was never meant to last forever. But its purpose was vital. Without the pause, you would not be able to hold what is coming. Without the desert, you would not know how to drink from unseen rivers. Without the cocoon, you would not have wings strong enough to fly. The pause was not the end of your story. It was the sacred preparation for the next chapter. And now, as you step out of it, you will begin to see why it all happened the way it did. You will look back at the silence and realize it was not wasted at all. It was a gift, though disguised. It was a shelter, though uncomfortable. It was a preparation, though painful. So hold this truth. You were not forgotten in the pause. You were being shaped in the silence. The very stillness you despised was the womb of your awakening. There is a reason why walking as a chosen one often feels lonely, even in the middle of a crowded room. You carry an energy that unsettles people without you even trying. You may have noticed it in the way someone suddenly turned cold after being warm toward you for weeks. You may have seen it in the way co-workers, friends, or even family felt irritated by your presence, though you did nothing to provoke them. This has followed you for years, leaving you asking yourself, what did I do wrong? The answer, chosen one, is often nothing. It is not about what you do, it is about what you carry. The truth is, you trigger people. Without speaking, you mirror them. Your very presence reflects back the things they have avoided, the truths they do not want to face, the wounds they have covered with masks. And because most people do not like to confront their shadows, they turn their discomfort into anger at you. They resent you not because you harmed them, but because you remind them of what they have yet to heal. This is why rejection has been a steady companion in your story. Not because you are unworthy, but because your energy presses against people's unpreparedness. Some will admire you for it at a distance, yet keep themselves from drawing close. Others will disguise their discomfort in criticism or gossip. And some will leave altogether without explanation, leaving you to wonder if you were too much or not enough. This constant cycle can be exhausting, especially when you crave genuine connection. But I want you to see this clearly. Being misunderstood is part of your calling. You are not meant to blend seamlessly into every group. You are not meant to be universally liked. Your path was never about fitting in. It was about standing apart, even when it cost you comfort. The loneliness you have carried is not punishment. It is proof that your presence is sharper than most can handle. Think of a mirror in a dimly lit room. When someone looks into it, they may see a version of themselves they do not like. They may turn away, angry at the mirror, forgetting that the mirror only revealed what was already there. That is what your life has been like. You walk into spaces and unknowingly reflect truths people would rather avoid. You show them, without words, what they have denied. And though some will hate you for it, others will quietly respect you, even if they never say it aloud. Chosen one, I know the cost of this is heavy. The phone calls that never came back, the friendships that collapsed without reason, the family members who could not accept you, the strange distance you felt even when people claimed to love you. These losses have carved into your heart, leaving scars that remind you daily of what it costs to carry light in a world that clings to shadows. But those scars are not shame. They are signs that you have endured what would have crushed others. And here is the paradox. While some recoil from you, others are drawn to you in ways they cannot explain. There are people who seek your presence, who feel safer around you, who sense the calm you carry even when you are wrestling inside. These are the souls who recognize you, the ones whose spirits resonate with yours. They may be rare, but they are real. And when you find them, the loneliness will not feel so sharp. Still, Do not confuse your worth with other people's reactions. If someone rejects you, it does not mean you are flawed. If someone envies you, it does not mean you must shrink. If someone misunderstands you, it does not mean you must rewrite yourself to fit their expectations. Their discomfort is their work, not yours. Your task is to remain whole, even when you are misread. Yes, it hurts to walk with this weight. Yes, it stings to stand apart. But consider this: if your presence has the power to unsettle, then it also has the power to awaken. For every person who resists you, there will be another who remembers themselves because of you. For everyone who turns away, there will be one who leans in closer, feeling seen for the first time. That is the quiet gift of being chosen. So hold your head higher, even in the silence of rejection. Walk with strength, even when you feel out of place. Trust that the ones who cannot handle your presence were never meant to hold it. And remind yourself again and again that the cost of walking among others is not evidence of your failure. It is evidence of your difference. You are not meant to be ordinary company. You are meant to be a mirror. You are meant to be a reminder. You are meant to be light in places where most would rather stay blind. And yes, it will cost you connection, comfort, and belonging at times. But it will also prove beyond question that you were never common. Chosen one. Now that you have walked through this journey with me, let us pause here at the edge of everything. You have carried the weight of awakening, the memories of childhood sensitivity, the ache of wasted years, the silence of preparation, the cost of rejection, and the rediscovery of your inner compass. Every chapter has been pointing you toward this moment, this reminder, this truth. You are not forgotten, and the shift you have been sensing is already unfolding. You see, nothing in your life has been wasted. Not the silence, not the confusion, not the nights you cried without understanding why. All of it has been part of the design, training your spirit, strengthening your endurance, teaching you how to hold glory when it arrives. You thought the delays were punishment, but they were really protection. You thought the silence was rejection, but it was actually sacred preparation. And now you are standing at the threshold of change, able to see that what once broke you has been shaping you for this exact moment. This is the confirmation your soul has been waiting for. The signs you've been noticing are real. The restlessness, the dreams, the unexpected shifts in your relationships, the strange pull you cannot explain. All of it is evidence that destiny has stirred. The silence was training. The loneliness was refining. The loss was pruning. Every painful pause has been working together to make you ready, and you are ready, right now. Chosen one, I want you to claim this moment with your own declaration. Write it into the comments as a sacred marker, a public yes to what your spirit already knows. Maybe 1111, the number of new beginnings. Maybe 333, the sign of alignment and guidance. Choose one and let it be your seal. Not for me, not for the algorithm, but for yourself, as proof that you stood in this moment and recognized it. And before we close, I invite you gently to subscribe. Not because of numbers or routine, but because you deserve to have reminders waiting for you when you need them most. Let this space be a refuge for you, a place where you return when the world feels too heavy, when you forget who you are, when you need a voice to remind you that you are chosen, aligned, and prepared. Subscribing is simply choosing to stay connected to the words your soul has been longing to hear. As you step away from this video, hold this truth. The unexpected is not to be feared. It is the very proof that the glory you were promised is breaking into your life. You do not need to chase it. You do not need to force it. You only need to remain open, listening, aligned. The shift is already underway, and it will carry you into places you once thought were closed to you forever. So whenever doubt comes again, remember this moment. Whenever the silence feels heavy, remember what it was shaping. Whenever the loneliness bites, remember what it was preparing. And whenever the weight of the world feels too much, remember, you can always come back here, to this space, to this reminder, to this voice that will echo back to you the truth you sometimes forget. Chosen one, expect the unexpected. What is arriving is loaded with glory, and it has your name written upon it.